My name is Christina Henry. I'm Director of Admissions, Recruiting, and Marketing for the UCLA Anderson MFE program. I'm joined here by my colleague Henry and one of our alumni and one of our current students who I'm going to let you guys all introduce yourselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Henry Piper. I'm the admissions coordinator for UCLA Anderson's MFE program. Been here with Anderson for just about a year. And along with Christina, I oversee, we help oversee all parts of the admissions process and are really excited to help answer any questions you may have. We look forward to chatting more, especially with our two alums. Alum and current student, Anatolie, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Henry. My name is Anatolie Chernyakhovsky. I'm a CLO credit analyst at S&P Global Ratings. I'm an alumni from the UCLA MFE program. I graduated in 2021. So I've been working in the industry for a number of years now. And I'm happy to be here to speak with everybody and answer any questions.
Thanks, Anatolie. And then Sarah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Contreras. I'm a first year MFE student. I'm in my second quarter. And before this, I graduated from UCLA in 2024. I'm looking forward to answering any questions.
Great. Anatolie and Sarah, so what I would like to do is I'd like to have, the two of you speak a little bit about your experience, and then we can, answer any questions about the MFE program itself, and we'll leave the floor open to the prospective students in the call. So Anatolie and Sarah, can you introduce yourselves and talk about, what you did before the MFE, like what, work experience you had? Did you come straight out of undergrad? And what led you to pursue the MFE program?
So prior to the MFE, I had a degree in computer science and finance. I was working as a domestic equities manager at an endowment, doing fundamental analysis of equities for our portfolio. At some point, I had a guy who was a really big time quant from BlackRock. He's the guy who invented the smart beta ETF. He comes to me, and he's telling me about, the origins of the analysis we do and some of the work he's done previously. And I think the rigor of quantitative analysis really spoke to me. And I really knew that it was a pedigree that I had to kind of move towards. And, with my background in finance and computer science, I feel like it made sense for me to go and pursue a degree in financial engineering, just to kind of give myself the skill set to go and continue developing the tools that I needed for the industry.
Great, thank you. And Sarah, can you tell us a little bit more about your background pre-MFE and what made you decide to come join the program?
Yeah, so during my undergrad, I was studying financial actuarial mathematics, and it was mainly actuarial focused with a couple of financial mathematics classes, and that's when I got introduced to like all these different formulas that people use to price like derivatives. And I was really interested in that. I wanted to learn more. So I knew that I was always going to continue my education in finance. And then I discovered the MFE program through one of the events that you guys hosted. It was like a pizza sort of like info session. And it just seemed like really interesting and like a good path to further my interest in finance, like specifically quantitative finance. So after graduating, I took like a gap year, sort of. I joined the Army, and at that time, I didn't really know what the future was going to hold for me, like when I was going to be able to apply or submit my application to the grad program. I knew I was always going to do it. So during training, like whenever I would find time to study for the GMAT, I did. Whenever I would find time to write my essays, I would. So I joined the Army, and after that, I just like was working on my applications. But during undergrad, I did work as an accounting assistant. So I knew that I did not want to do accounting because it wasn't as like quantitative as like I expected. But I feel like the MFE program can like introduce you to so many different topics in finance. So that's one of the benefits, that you don't feel like you need to go a certain career. You can even branch out into the tech industry or other industries that you find interesting.
Fantastic. Thank you. And we're also joined today by another current student. His name is Andrea Bortolini. Andrea, can you go ahead and introduce yourself? Let us know what you did prior to the MFE program and why you decided to join, and what brought you from your home country to Los Angeles.
Yes. Hi, Christina. Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Bortolini. I'm currently a student of MFE program, class of 2026. So before joining the MFE, I studied management for my bachelor and finance for a previous master I had from Bocconi University in Italy. After that, I joined Goldman Sachs. I worked 3 years in corporate treasury in their Warsaw office. It was a fun time. I think I learned a lot, but the more I was growing in my career, the more I understood that I wanted to move towards a more quantitative or trading role. And so I was looking online around for options to decide how I could enhance my skills. And last year I found this program that looked very interesting. So I decided to apply and I got accepted. So last year I decided to quit my job in July and join this program. And I have to say it's been a very nice decision so far. I'm very happy of the subject I'm studying. And yeah, I was a little bit scared in the beginning because going back to study after 3 years working, I thought maybe I will not be as sharp as a straight out of university, but so far it has been very interesting and very stimulating.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'd like to actually kind of go backwards a little bit, through, the three students. Andrea, you mentioned that you had 3 years of experience before you joined, and that you were a little bit nervous, about joining because you weren't quite sure if you were going to feel as prepared as maybe somebody straight out of school. To that end, what I guess my question here is, what has been your experience in the program, and how do you feel like your work experience prepared you for the MFE?
So I have to say the math and Python pre-courses that we had during summer were very helpful, especially the math one, because I haven't been doing this level of math in quite some time. For Python course, I think work helped me a little bit because I was still coding occasionally at work, so I wasn't completely rusty. But I think definitely working, even if the environment was kind of different, helped me a lot in managing time. I think one of the biggest challenge in the first quarter was how to manage all the homework, all the deadlines that are very frequent and sometimes quite tight. And I think having a framework from work that helped me prioritize and work under competing deadline really helped me a lot. Also, going back to study some of the stuff that I saw applied in the real world also gave me an interesting perspective because I can confront what I did at work with how it works in theory, and then I can connect what I'm studying with my experience from work, and I think that's also an interesting part.
Fantastic. And Sarah, you had really a unique experience as well, coming from a year in the military. How do you feel that prepared you for the program?
Yeah, I feel like it sort of made me diligent, and I think after you go through like that stressful training, nothing compares to that. So all these homework assignments that pile up, the midterms, like it's like nothing, like it's kind of, it feels like a blessing. So Yeah, I feel like not stressing too much about like how you're gonna overcome something, just put your mind to it and just do it. That that sort of mindset has like stuck with me.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, no, that is fantastic. I've actually worked with a few people who were former military, and I really appreciate the discipline that experience brings. Anatoly, you also worked in between your undergraduate degree and the MFE. I'll switch the question a little bit and say, A, how did your experience prepare you? And then also B, you know, and you touched on this a bit earlier, but what was it that you felt like you wanted to learn in the MFE, and how did you feel like you wanted to grow after the MFE?
Um, you know, there was this time when you're using Bloomberg terminals and fundamental analysis was kind of pitched as what you did if you wanted to get a job as an analyst or as a trader. And my experience was that simply wasn't the case. At some point, you have so much data available to you, you can't just crunch the fundamental analysis numbers on your own by hand. I mean, if you want to be efficient, you're going to have to employ some kind of algorithmic filter to go in and really help you make your decisions. And doing this en masse is kind of one of the techniques that they teach you in these programs. Um, and it isn't just that. If you want to go and look at things that are a little bit more sophisticated, like options or futures or swaps, these things aren't valued in a way that I think you can understand with simply business terms, right? When you're going over and you look at these things, you're going to have to go and consider optionality. And I really think if you want to go and bite into these things and get a number that makes sense to you instead of consuming something that somebody else gives you and tells you is correct, you're going to need to go and understand it from the ground up. And an MFE really helps you go and say, look, this is where the science started from. Here's where it came from. Here's how we, understand it economically. And here's how we go and build the systems to get to where we are at the top, where you can consume this at a more English level, at like a level where it isn't just numbers and derivations, right? And that's what really appealed to me, and that's the kind of skill set that I came in wanting to learn.
Fantastic, thank you. And what were the highlights of the program for all three of you?
I suppose I don't mind going backwards. One of my favorite parts of the program was in quantitative asset management, which is one of the electives that was offered to us later on in the program, where we were basically tasked, the whole class, with recreating very famous factor portfolios, like the famous French portfolios. And at the end, they say, okay, based on all the research we've replicated, based on off all the portfolios we've recreated and constructed and back tested, our final project was to go and create a strategy, devise a mathematical theory, and then go and back test it and say whether or not it's profitable and present it to the class. And that was one of our final projects. And using all of the skills you put together, I mean, you've got guys coming in with some really creative stuff, some real interesting portfolios. That was at the point where I felt like, man, I just put something together that if I was, pitching this to a client, I feel like this was like something I would be proud of. I think that was the most fun thing in the class, because it really enabled me to flex my creative mental muscles. I think that was a highlight for me.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, that makes me excited to take quantitative asset management, one of the classes I'm going to take next quarter. So I look forward to that project. But for me, one of the highlights has been meeting with firms and like past alumni. There's so many alumni and firms that you meet within your first week at UCLA. Like during orientation, you go through a speed round of like talking to alumni in small groups and asking them questions and getting to know what they do in their jobs. And you do that throughout like the quarter. There will be company presentations that come in and like introduce us to new careers in finance. So I think that is really helpful, especially in the first quarter, to get like an insight into what exactly you can do with the MFE degree and how exactly their classes relate to the industry. Um, I think like meeting the diverse group of alumni has been the highlight.
Yeah, for me too, other than the courses, which I find very interesting, I think this quarter I'm really liking the derivatives class. But I think all the opportunity in general that you have every day at Anderson, it's just amazing. Every day there is something to do. Every day there is a seminar, some activity, some conference you can attend, some group that organize something. And I think this really makes me excited every day to wake up, go to school, and then just make the most out of what the school offer.
Right. Yeah, I think you all touched on really interesting aspects of the program. And actually, Sarah, you talked about kind of studying with, a group of students who had different backgrounds and how that kind of really enhanced your experience. And it's actually one of my questions, right? Like what has it been like studying with people from all over the world and people with, different educational backgrounds and, levels of experience.
Yeah, I think it's great how we have like these work groups because a lot of the times you use your strengths to like tackle a problem, and if you don't understand something like in the past, when I didn't understand how to do a specific problem or when I didn't understand the code, I would ask my group if they can explain it to me. So that's really a helpful tool. But also, Anderson, like as a whole, is a very collaborative space. You'll always like find MFEs on the fourth floor of the library, like studying, and you can always just like join anyone. Like everyone is super helpful and nice and welcoming. So yeah, that's one of the perks of, I guess, like our cohort. Like we're all like pretty collaborative.
Wonderful. And, Anatoly, in terms of, the coursework, you're the person that's been kind of out in the workforce for a few years now. What courses do you feel like you've really, used the most or used the most information from in your work?
So I'm going to give a little bit of preface. Currently, I work as a CLO credit rating analyst. A CLO is a bundle of credits, loans. They can be like mortgages, they can be student loans. Typically, in my line of work, they tend to be corporate loans. Banks put a rubber band around them and then issue them to investors. Um, one of and this might be by some inside knowledge. I don't know if I should say this or not, but one of the final exams we had for computational methods in finance when I was a student was to write a simulation for mortgage default rates, and then using a credit rating methodology to assign a credit rating based on probability of default, right, to a package of mortgages. And if you can see where I'm going there with this is exactly what I do in my day-to-day job. I mean, now we have software that we've written that we use every day, but I mean, I have to debug this software if we have a bespoke transaction that comes through. Sometimes I have to make modifications to it. And if I didn't know how this stuff worked under the hood, I frankly couldn't do my job. I mean, anyone could just plug numbers in. They could hire anyone to do that, but they need a guy who understands how this stuff works to go in and really make the tweaks when needed. Um, I can't get any more frank than that, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think it's, exactly that balance of, quantitative skill set, kind of programming knowledge and, fundamental understanding of the markets and intuition for the markets that, we aim to build in the MFE program. And I think, that kind of helps segue to the next question I have, which is, I know I talk to a lot of people who come from, STEM backgrounds, so science, technology, engineering, and math. And the question is often, well, I'm an engineer. What would I do in finance? And how would I take that skill set and apply it to finance? And I'm curious to hear, all three of your thoughts on that.
So for me, I think I had the opposite problem. I was really worried when I was starting because my background is in management and corporate finance. So I was really worried about will I be able to handle all the math? Will I be able to handle all the code? And but and I always thought like the finance part was easier to learn compared to the mathematical part. I have to say so far it's going well. I think in the first quarter there are a couple classes that are very that really give a good introduction to finance world with a little bit also of accounting. And also for the math part, I think, as I mentioned, the pre-course helped a lot. And also, they really start from beginning. The pace is quite fast, but I think it's manageable, and actually it makes everything very interesting for me.
Fantastic. Anatoly or Sarah, do you have any additional thoughts there?
Um, yeah, if I could just go and chime in real. I'm a finance guy who learned math, but I have come to understand that I am kind of backwards, kind of like what Andrea said. Most people who work in the quant field actually end up being people from STEM who learn finance because the adage goes, it's easier to teach a physicist finance than a finance guy physics.
Mhm.
So I remember the program is, has a lot of math in the beginning. Stochastic calculus is one of the first and most important classes you take. Um, and obviously, to take stochastic calculus, you have to have a good base of regular calculus, right? To start off. Um, and there are people who, if they come from a STEM background, they will find this much easier. And then, controversially, if they go to accounting, a finance guy will find accounting easy. But then if you've never seen it before, it might be more difficult. But I want to say there is a place for people who do STEM in this field. I can tell you one of the principles of the of Black-Scholes, which is what we use to price options and derivatives. Uh, it was basically based on work done by a physicist. I mean, it's all based on a concept called Brownian motion, which you guys don't even have to worry about what it is. But this is created by a physicist. Can you guys believe it? The base of finance is not made by a finance guy who worked at a bank. He was at a conference, and two guys were like, "Hey, I'm trying to solve this problem." They put it together. They created the Black-Scholes option pricing formula, and they won an economic prize for it. So if that's not proof enough that, if I could do it, anyone could do it. I suppose that is right.
Fantastic. Yeah. And yeah, you're referring to the Black-Scholes model, which is, one of the kind of foundational mathematical models. In finance and quantitative finance, it was developed by Fisher Black and Myron Scholes, who are sort of people in the industry that are well known. One of the things, exactly, the original sort of intention sometimes of the quantitative finance programs was to really give people with quantitative skill sets, kind of that foundation in finance. And then we found that we as we met candidates, as the industry developed a little bit, that it was also if we had people who had strong finance economics backgrounds, who learned at least a subset of the math coursework before they came, they really found that it added a very important quantitative tool set to their skills and made them very effective on Wall Street, both in their kind of initial careers as well as as they move forward. And I guess one of the questions, I'll stay with you here on this one quickly, Anatoly, is what do you see as you've been out in the industry for a few years now, and of course you've been able to observe other people in the industry as well, people who are potentially senior to you, who are a bit more experienced. What does a career path look like in terms of how long do you keep your hands on the numbers? How long do you keep your hands in the code? And how much of the quantitative skill set is used on a day-to-day basis?
So I can kind of tell you, it's up to you, honestly. You could go straight into client-facing integrations at a startup if you really wanted to, which means you'd be dealing with clients on a day-to-day basis, and you translate something over to a product manager who does all the coding if you really wanted to. Alternatively, you can get a job at some big firm like Bloomberg and be hitting the whiteboard every day, all day for your job, and never have to talk to anybody outside of printing a report ever again if you wanted to. And there are obviously shades in between. So I really think it's based on your personality and your desire. You can find a job where you're using quant skills at a high level and disseminating complicated topics for people. Or you could be working at like a very low level where you're doing like high frequency trading and you're writing algorithms that make money for trading firms. Um, it really just depends on person to person, in my opinion, and you can pivot depending on what opportunities are available to you. I mean, it really is. If you want to change your career, you have the power to do it. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah. Andrea and Sarah, I know you're both a little bit newer to industry, but do you have any thoughts here?
What was the question again?
Yeah, just, how have you seen, I think, the quantitative skill set used, both in the classroom, and, in the experience you've had in the workplace, or, the experience you've had speaking with, alumni, and companies that come for, kind of career talks. And I think for both of your cases, what are you looking forward to doing going forward?
Yeah, so I am currently like trying to get an internship in a research like position.
Mhm.
And the interviewer had asked me if I knew about like this OU stochastic process. And that was
Mhm.
like something that we had like, reviewed in one of our homework assignments for stochastic calculus. And he was talking about like mean reversion, which is another topic that we talked about in our empirical methods class. So I feel like for at least like the research position, it combines the actual like formulas that you're learning.
Mhm.
Um, and then one of the roles that really interested me was valuations.
Mhm.
And Max, who's from KPMG, like he comes to UCLA and talks a lot about that. He told us how the computational methods in finance was like super helpful and it directly applies to his line of work. Um, so yeah, those are like the experiences that I've had with our coursework, like really defining like what kind of work you can do in finance.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Andrea, I know you're pursuing, perhaps a slightly different path after the MFE. And I'm curious to hear you talk a little bit more about that.
Yes. One of the reasons why I joined this program was also because of the optionality of that I hope it would allow me to have once I finish the program. So currently I'm between looking for internship and looking for some research assistant position to eventually explore the idea of pursuing a PhD. And again, I think what's really nice is that here at Anderson, I get almost every week chances to attend seminars or conference where people from faculty here or visiting present their research topics. And at the same time, everything that we are learning, I see how it's applied in this research. For example, last week I attended this conference from one of our professors, and he was explaining about the study he was doing, and it was actually nice because the tools he used to do this study was actually the tools he was explaining us in class. That was very interesting to understand not only the economic intuition behind the research, but also like what toolkit you actually would use to get the results you want to get. And so yeah, still work in progress on deciding what I would like to do in the future. But I think what I really like is that it allows me both to look into the industry, look for internship, but at the same time, it doesn't close the door. If I want to go to a PhD, it's giving me a lot of opportunity to explore also that route.
Fantastic. Thank you. And then a couple more questions. Then I'd like to open the floor up to our participants too, because I'm sure our participants have some other questions. But I would say for all three of you, do you have any tips or advice for students looking to join a graduate program, in the U.S.? So I know, Andrea, you're, of course, the person that came from, another country. But then also, for both Anatolie and for Sarah, any just general advice for students looking to join a graduate program. So, for example, funding opportunities, scholarships students can be aware of, and best ways to prepare yourself, to successfully get into a top program.
Based on my experience, I would just say apply early and especially start applying early for visa if you come from abroad, because last summer it was quite a struggle to book the appointments to get the visa. So yeah, that was the hardest part, I would say, for me.
I would,
Oh, sorry. I'll let you go first. My bad.
I would say one of the ways to prepare for a graduate program is probably like brushing up on any coding skills or learning a new coding language if you already know Python. I feel like that helps, especially like boost your resume or like take on a project, like find a project that you like doing or that you're interested in, so that you could like put it on your resume, because I feel like when you start the quarter, you're very busy and you're getting adjusted to the program. Yeah, that's like, I guess, piece of advice I would.
Yeah, my advice would be, the program is a mixture of finance, math, and coding. I mean, you're gonna use all three of these skills in equal handfuls. So I would say identify, what you may have gaps in your knowledge, and maybe kind of focus on brushing up on those. If you've never coded before, maybe practice coding a little bit. I mean, there are boot camps that they give you for before the program starts. You can participate in to get up to speed on coding. They also have, I think, some math boot camps too. I I don't remember if there was one for finance. If there was, I didn't do it because I was coming, out of a finance background. But I mean, you don't have to have a pillar of knowledge of each of these. Like you don't have to know each of these at a super fit proficient level. If you know calculus, that's fine. If you know basic finance, that's fine. I think basic coding, it's fine. I think a lot of these things, as long as you're well rounded in all three, at least at some level, I think you can pick the rest up as needed. In my opinion, there were people who came into the program with very bare bones coding knowledge, and by the end of the program, they were just fine. And it's say you know say the same thing for finance. And me going into it, I can say I was good at calculus, but I was by far, I think, not nearly as bad as guys who came in, for example, with a background in like one of my classmates had like a background in thermodynamics. That wasn't me. But I think if you know all three of these at some level, I think you'll be fine. But just prepare yourself, right?
Absolutely. Okay, great. And then, my second question for all of you. So for Anatolie, I'll start with you because it's going to be a slightly different focus. How did the MFE program help you in, attaining your career goals? So, and how did it help you, kind of land your first role? And then for Sarah and Andrea, and I can repeat this when it's your turn. How has the MFE program thus far created opportunities, for the students, and how does it help you to, familiarize yourself with the industry?
Yeah, so in different people, different hiring managers are going to be looking for different particular skill sets. So whether or not you catch one guy's eye versus another is going to be, come down to whether or not you had you said you had like the exact skill set that they had in mind for the role. In particular, when I was hired for my first role at my company, Standard and Poor's, uh, they were looking for somebody who didn't just know how to regurgitate models, but they knew somebody who could kind of explain, if we made tweaks to this model, if we changed it in a certain way, how would this impact the results? And I had like a long discussion with my then future manager about it, and they liked it a lot. And a lot of these were conversations that it was built on an intuition. That I built off of from the MFE. This is going to be a little bit of a shout out, but in the program, Professor Longstaff actually has a fairly popular model named after him that I actually got to speak about because he made you go and cover it during the program. And I kind of got like front row seats to somebody who was super knowledgeable about this exact topic. And I just was kind of, whenever he was talking, I was writing it down. So I'd say that's how it helped me land my first job in the industry, right?
Fantastic. And Sarah and Andrea, how have you, learned a bit more about the industry, and how has the program kind of created opportunities for internships and kind of for your future work?
Yeah, as Sarah was mentioning before, I think one thing that really helped me clarify my ideas, it's like how many meetings or how many occasions we have to interact with alumni or with people in the industry and come here, talk about their work, what it's required in their job, what skills do they use. And I think that's really helpful, kind of to address what you like to do, what are your favorite topic, and kind of try to match them with a potential job. Also, in UCLA in general, there are so many career fairs. We have like a career service that really is trying to help you to get the job you want to. And I think that's also very nice because we do like a mock interview, both behavioral and technical. I think that's also something very that offer you pretty good insights into the recruitment process. Yeah.
Yeah, for the classes like that we take, our professors always try to relate it to their actual work in the industry. And in the derivatives course specifically, our professor like always talks about like, oh, this wasn't an interview question, or like someone can ask you in this interview question. And that's also true for our financial risk management class. Our professor tries to give us interview questions to help us like shape the way we think and try to get us exposed to the types of questions they actually ask in interviews. That's really helpful. And then also the New York City Trek allowed us to meet people in New York and connect with alumni over there on the East Coast. So if you're like interested in that, that's also a good resource because you could also reach out to other alumni and like schedule coffee chats in between the presentations. But yeah, I was gonna say another thing, but I forgot. Oh yeah, one of the presentations that was done by a company actually reaches out like to UCLA MFEs and like gets their resumes. So that's also really helpful. You can be introduced in that way. I know also Professor Eric pushes certain people's like resumes to his colleagues. So I think everyone is trying to help you get a job, get an internship, and be recognized by their peers.
Fantastic. Yeah, and Anatoly was actually telling me before we started this call that he's been talking to some of our current students as well and advising them and answering questions. And yeah, I don't know if you want to add a couple of thoughts there.
Yeah, I have students reach out to me. So when you're a student at UCLA, you have access to the alumni database, and you have access to their personal emails as well as their work emails if it's been updated. And it's not uncommon for me to receive emails from students or LinkedIn messages asking them to speak to me, so they can get some career advice or ask me about my job and see, what I think about it. Um, and I typically will respond and say, yeah, sure, let's hop on a call. I have no problem with it. It's no scratch off my back. And frankly, I feel like if I was in their position, I would appreciate if someone did the same for me. So, you know, um, and usually, I kind of go and tell them like, hey, if at the end of this you find a listing at my company that you sounds interesting to you, and I've spoken to you, and we have a good repertoire. I have no problem going giving you a referral to my firm. Or if they don't want to work in my industry or my role, whatever, I don't take offense to it. I say, hey, if you want to go work in XYZ, if I probably know a guy who works in it. I said, I'll go send you their email, and you can go and maybe talk to them, and you can. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to refer you to a role at their firm. Um, so yeah, I think the connection network. I would guess more rather than less alumni are probably of the same disposition as me, just based off the ones that I keep in touch with. I think they usually tell me similar stories. So I think we have an alumni network that kind of gets it. They get that, trying to get your foot in the door with in an industry that's as competitive as quantitative finance is tough, and we like to look out and for each other's best interests.
Fantastic. Yeah. And you kind of touched on a point that I did want to bring up too, is that, when you're at UCLA Anderson, and this is not, common across, all of the different universities that offer quant finance programs, you do have access to the full set of resources of the Anderson School of Management. So, number one, you can take courses in the other programs at Anderson if you wish to. You can take MBA courses. You can take courses within the PhD program, MSBA courses, as well as courses outside, in other departments within the university. You are able to, from a financial aid standpoint, take on research assistantships and teaching assistantships, across campus if you wish to. And, of course, through, various activities, groups, sports, and, Anderson-wide, as well as, kind of campus-wide, activities, you do have the opportunity to network with the other students. So we have, for example, Andernoons. That's every Thursday. I believe it's every Thursday, Andrea and Sarah. It's an event that
every other, I think, something like that.
Oh, every other. Okay. Yeah. So those are also events that that students are allowed to participate in. Oh, I'm told. Sorry, it's 5 times per quarter. Great. I'd like to open up the floor to, to those of you who've joined us on the call. You can go ahead and type your questions into the chat box, or you can raise your hand, and we'd love to hear from you. And if you do speak, feel free to introduce yourself. Just give us a brief background, what you're doing now, what you've studied. All right, Nandini, I see you're kind of first on the raised hand. Can you go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, hello. Thank you so much for this session. It was really helpful. So I am also traditionally from a finance background. Like my undergrad degree was a finance major with an econ minor. And post that, I've worked as a market risk analyst, and I have also completed the FRM certification. So my question is kind of based on my background actually, and it would actually be helpful if, considering that I've heard that people from finance background do come to the program and they're successful. So I would want to know what were I have created a whole math background and programming background, but I still want to know if there were any surprises for people coming from a traditional finance background. when they entered the quant space?
That's a great question.
Maybe I can help share my experience because I also come from a more traditional business finance background. I think definitely having a good foundation of math and coding can help. And yeah, as I think Anatoly was mentioning, you have stochastic calculus on the first quarter, and that's quite tough. Even if some of the topics I already saw, Black and Scholes, I more or less already knew. But then again, the level of rigor you studied here, it's a little bit deeper than how I saw it before. But I would say it's nothing unmanageable. And like, now there are so many tools that can help you also understand if something is not clear. And then in my experience, professor TAs have always been super available and helpful. So I would say even if it was a little bit of a shock in the beginning, then it was like everything went really well. I think I understood the topic much better than before. And yeah, occasionally it happens that they mention some function or some stuff that I am not very sure of what they're talking about, but like it's just so easy to get. You just ask an AI or anything, and then like you know at least where to go to look or what to ask if you need any clarification. So I would say it's. I think it's doable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next question. I see Kwong.
Yeah, um, appreciate everyone's time here. Just for background, previously worked in commercial real estate. Now currently taking some time, just wanting to get prepared before I formally apply to an MFE program. Uh, my question is, finance is so vast. There's so many different areas of finance, equities, fixed income, structured products, private assets. My question is, when did you figure out what specific area of finance you want to be in, and what kind of went into that process? And I guess for Andrea and Sarah, have you figured out what area of finance you want to be in? Kind of your thought process behind what went into it.
Great question.
Yeah, I think I'll start answering that one. So CLOs are actually one of the areas of interest of mine that I had since I took computational methods and finance in the MFE. Before that, I really wanted to go and work as a strat quant. And it's still, strats are still something that interests me on a personal level. But I think mechanically, CLOs just as a product are what caught my eye. And I kind of told myself, look, I'll kind of do what I have to do to get my foot in the door. Just because, once you're in the game, so to speak, you can move wherever you want in a firm that, in my experience. So for me, it was just a kind of a marriage of what I was good at and what I thought was interesting too. Whereas with strats, I feel like I didn't know where I wanted to work in that field. And I feel like I was just kind of looking at whoever would take me at the time. And I thought that just didn't make sense. What if I end up working for a sector that I just don't care about, or a firm that I just don't jive with? So that helped me narrow it down between the two choices.
Yeah, for internships, I kind of had a similar experience, like just trying to apply to wherever like will take me, because I think those are like really hard to get. At least like that has been my experience. And yeah, so for internships, I'm not like really being picky, but I guess for like what I want to see myself like in the future, like doing, it changes based on like the classes that I'm taking. So I'm in the second quarter, and the first quarter I was really interested in evaluating complex derivatives and like working for an accounting firm or yeah, some sort of firm that does that because it's like it mixes computation and like options pricing and it's like go something new every day. So I feel like the more you talk to alumni, the more you get to learn their work. And if it interests you, you just like you will start seeing it appear in your classes. So when I learned about evaluating complex derivatives, I would see it in accounting and when we were reviewing like fair value, like market prices. And then this quarter with like I'm taking a class with Professor Longstaff. He's teaching fixed income and the way he talks about fixed income and his experiences, it makes it so interesting and fascinating. And he's like a funny professor. He tells us like real stories and yeah, the way he talks about it like has made me want to work in fixed income. So I'm looking at new roles that are like in fixed income. And he talks about how his previous students have gone on to work at Disney. And I thought that was really interesting. Like, oh, I didn't really know that you could do like fixed income for a non-traditional like finance company. So I think the more classes you take, the more like you're introduced to different careers and different ways that you can apply your skills. So it is changing like for me. But when it comes to the internship process, like I'm just applying to as many quant roles as I can.
Great. And I'm actually adding a note in the chat too about preparation. So, you are, if you haven't taken the math coursework, or if you haven't taken, finance econ or coding coursework, you can actually indicate in your application what your plan is to complete those courses before the start of the program to which you're applying. Coursera, online courses, any coursework that you can take is perfectly fine. We at the UCLA Anderson MFE program also offer 2 courses in the summer before the program begins. We offer a Python refresher as well as a math boot camp. So if you feel like I think actually I would recommend those to most students, unless you are like, let's say, an expert Python programmer, just to number one, kind of refresh your skills, obviously. And then number 2, to really start to get yourself into the finance mindset for those skills. Okay. And then I see 2 other questions in here. I see Murong, it looks like you were first raising your hand there.
So first, thank you so much for hosting the information session. My name is Murong. I'm currently a senior at UC Irvine, double major in mathematics and quantitative economics. So I guess my question is more generic. First, I want to ask, so can I have some information on how exactly the Career Center helps students in terms of preparing a career in the industry? And the second question is, since I come from more of a math background, so how important is the GRE for me as an applicant?
Yeah, I can answer the question on GRE, and then I actually will let the current students talk about how they've worked with the Career Center and also Anatolie. So in terms of GRE or GMAT, we do require GRE or GMAT from all candidates. We look at it as part of your application. So we're taking a holistic approach to application review. And what we mean by that is, we're looking at, your quantitative preparation, your computer science background, your finance background, your letters of recommendation, your reasons for wanting to come, and any work experience you have, as well as the test score. So it's one aspect. We look at the quantitative section. Typically I look for 90th percentile, so 90 or higher on the quantitative section. Right now, it turns out that for GRE, the quantitative 90 percentile on the quantitative section, I believe is actually a 170, which is a perfect score. So, if you don't quite hit that level, again, we're looking at everything. And I would, strongly encourage you to apply, even if you, are a bit below that. And then, yeah, I'd like to turn the career services questions over to the students and to Anatolie.
So it's been a while since I've worked with the Career Center at UCLA. I've been with my firm for a while, so you'll have to forgive me if I can't recall that. But I can tell you now that I've been out of the program, they do share a lot of internal career listings where people's firms will be hiring internally with us very frequently. They'll say, "Hi, we're looking to hire Phil for this role. If you have anybody you can refer to this job, email me personally, and I'll set up an interview." And I see tons of these emails. I pretty frequently. I think it's the most seen type of either email or LinkedIn content I see. And so I think that seems like it's a pretty good resource. But that's I haven't really been on the market recently enough to go and expound on it more than that.
Yeah, we do work with alumni. For example, those who are out in the workforce, have been out in the workforce for a few years, but are looking for their next role. So we that is something you're part of our alumni network for life. Sarah and Andrea, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, just to echo a little bit, I think, yeah, we also receive a lot of emails, psycho recruiters reached out, are you interested in this role? Maybe if you want to share your CV, we can connect you. I think that's really interesting, and also the fact that like they organize so many mock interview, or they're always available. If you have an interview, or if you have reached out to someone and they answered you and you don't know how to go on with the conversation, like you can just schedule a meeting with career service and they will be more than happy to support you and assist you in the process. I think that's something really that I see so different from my previous university, where I didn't even know if we had a career service, and here it's just so proactive. Like during the first quarter, we had so many different sessions with alumni, employers. Some were just like to prepare you, to explain you the different phases of the interview, and yeah, overall, I think it's really nice.
I wanted to
Environment.
actually, oh, thanks, Andrea. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I wanted to actually add to that too and say, so, our career services team are absolutely here for you. They, are available at any time, of course, during the work week, to help prepare you for if you have an upcoming interview, if you have questions, their door is always open. And they, meet with students very, kind of every single day. I will also say that yes, we hold mock interview sessions, kind of more broad for the entire class. We have alumni that will run quantitative interview prep sessions. We also bring companies to campus to talk about exactly what it is that they work on, what they're doing, which really gives you a good foundation for, really what's out there. So you'll understand, what is a buy side firm? What does that do? What does the day to day look like at a firm like PIMCO versus a firm like, Morgan Stanley, et cetera? And what do some of the smaller, kind of quant shops do? What is, what are the strategies? And how did they define those? So I think for anybody who's exploring careers, it is, I think, really helpful. We are a little bit over time. I see a question from Jessica, and I also saw Kyle had their hand raised too a little bit earlier. So I'd like to take those two, and then let's go. Let's move forward. Hi, Jessica.
Hi. I am an undergraduate student majoring in computer information system in Cal Poly Pomona now, and with mathematics and economy minor. So it has given me a foundation in finance, economics, coding, math, and statistic. And but my question is, it is a good idea to delay my graduation by 1 or 2 semesters to take more advanced course in math and stat. And yeah, another question is, since my track now is business intelligence, basically focused on the data analyst. So it is a good idea to transit from data analyst in finance or fintech company to a quantitative research or quant. And would it be helpful to prepare for my application of this program? Thank you.
Yeah. So your question is, would it be helpful for you to find a quant role, to prepare for applying for this program, instead of having kind of a data analyst role?
Yes. So I just wonder, it is a good idea to start my first job in data analyst and then to transit into the quant or apply the program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think you could do either thing, right? Data analysis skill set is really useful in finance. So if you have some of that background, and then you come into the program, I think it'll give you, certainly, an understanding of how big data sets work. I mean, in finance, you're working with huge data sets that are noisy, they're unstructured. You're trying to find signal in these data sets, right? So, some facility with, kind of how to do that is certainly useful. I would also say, if you find a role in quant finance, certainly, as you're preparing for the MFE, that's also a really good preparation for the MFE. So either direction could be, great. I think there's no like kind of one thing that's better than the other in those two choices. I don't know if our current students or if Anatolie have any thoughts there as well.
I mean, I'm not on the admissions board, so I I don't know how much my word has value here, right? But I'd question if that's maybe putting the cart before the horse. In my opinion, the MFE is to help get you a job in a field that you're interested in. If you can find a job in a field you're interested in without the MFE, then I would say, I mean, is the MFE going to help you advance your career down the line? If the answer is yes, then I suppose there is no harm in pursuing a job and then going for the MFE. I think, like they said, they do consider on a holistic basis. And I think if this gives you like more of a story to tell about yourself, or if you think, this is something that'll be beneficial for you now, I don't think anyone would tell you that this is a bad idea. I think it really depends on what the opportunity is and if it really advances what you want to do in the future. If it's something you think helps, put a building block on your life story, by all means, I think it would be fine to do that. But if you would be doing it just for the sake of the MFE, like you would just be taking a role in this field to help build up a portfolio for the MFE. Well, I guess that's fine too, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's holistic.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I feel like if, I have kind of two things I would usually say about this. Number one, is either get as close as you can to the thing you want to do after. Because then what you can do is gain some valuable experience, then, come join the MFE, and that will take you kind of up to the next level. Or do something that will help you build what, you might consider your superpower, later on. So if you want, data analysis to be, kind of one of the cornerstones of your specific kind of unique value proposition. Okay, so we're a little bit over time. I do want to take any, if there are any last questions. I know Kyle, you had your hand raised. Do you still have, are you still on, and do you still have a question that you'd like to ask?
Yes, I do. One of
Great.
the questions oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
So my name is Kyle Osu. I go to Howard University. I study computer science with a double concentration in computational mathematics and computational physics. What is the competition culture within the MFE or individuals in the MFE? As in, do you guys have or congregate to participate in like quant focused competition such as IMC Prosperity and stuff of those sort?
Yeah, great question. We do participate in a number of quant finance competitions. One is the IAQF competition. I feel like right off the top of my head, I'm probably missing one or two as well. We also have students who have, participated in our startup incubator on campus, as well as a few other things. And I think
What did Gus do?
Yes.
Didn't Gus do something in the fall?
I believe so, and that's what the thing that I don't have at the top of mind right now.
Yeah, I don't remember when that was going.
So one of our students, Gus, actually participated in a finance competition with a group of MBA students, and we can get you that information after the call. I don't know, Sarah or Andrea, do you have any kind of additional information there?
Yeah, I think it was some pitching competition organized probably by another university. Also, yeah, just to add, I think IAQF, it's live now. I'm actually participating in that. And yesterday we also received actually last week, but yesterday it kind of started the onboarding. We received an invite for another competition. It's a trading competition organized by Gemini, which is a crypto exchange for those not familiar. So yeah, definitely a lot of opportunities. I think sometime I wish I had more time to participate in more of these, but yeah, no, definitely a lot of opportunities.
Okay, one last question from Austin.
Perfect. Hi. Hi, my name is Austin. I have a bachelor's degree in business, and then I joined the Navy, and now I'm using the GI Bill to take classes at community college. I think I'm going to do computer science classes and use that to take all the math classes as well. But when it comes to coding, what language do you recommend starting with first?
Python, I would say. I don't know if anybody disagrees with me, but I would say if you're going to use one, Python, and then maybe C++.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. That's what I thought.
Students and alumni, any thoughts there?
I think you can't go wrong with Python. I think some of the classes actually had us using R for data science too.
Mm-hmm.
You probably one of the students who are currently there can answer better. I think maybe you can use C++ for computational methods in finance. I remember Professor Gugazian gave us, I think, code for Python and code for C++, I think is what it was. But I think Python is a totally acceptable starting point to just go ahead and pick up. And once you learn Python, to be honest, you can pick up R, and C++ is like maybe a little bit more reading, but I mean, you can pick it up as you need it, like I said. So just, I think Python's a good place to start.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Amazing. All right, everybody, we are a little bit over time. If you have questions, feel free to contact us at any time. Henry's put the contact information on the slide, that's showing. Also feel free, you can reach out to me directly. You can reach out to Henry directly, as well as our admissions ambassadors, who are current students and always happy to answer your questions. And I can, definitely give me 2 seconds and I'll share that link in the chat. I wanted to thank everybody for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. This was great.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time.
Of course.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.